We'll take a look at the basal nuclei and its structures in relation to one another. The basal nuclei is the subcortical gray matter located within each cerebral hemisphere, and it includes the caudate nucleus, the putamen, the globus pallidus, hippocampus and amygdala, the claustrum, subthalamic nucleus, and the substantia nigra. So here's a 3D image of the brain. We'll go ahead and hide one of the hemispheres. Here's a medial image. This right here is the basal nuclei. We can go ahead and hide the corpus callosum, which connects the two hemispheres. This is the lateral ventricle. It contains the CSF fluid made by the choroid plexus. It has 3 parts: the anterior horn, central part, and the inferior horn. Right below that lies the caudate nucleus, which is a basal nuclei. It's C-shaped in structure, and it also has 3 parts: the head, body, and tail. This structure right here is the putamen, and internal to that we will see the globus pallidus right here. So the corpus striatum is composed of the caudate nucleus, the putamen, and the globus pallidus here. To get a better view of the pair of structures, we'll also go ahead and hide this. We can hide the lateral ventricles, and the choroid plexus on both sides, and the septum, the anterior commissure we can hide. So these are all pairs. The basal nuclei also has the hippocampus. It means seahorse, kind of looks like a seahorse. So this is the hippocampus. This is the fornix of the hippocampus. And axons, they project from the hippocampus through the fornix all the way to the anterior portion here, where it ends at the mammillary bodies here. The amygdala, these are the amygdalas here. The hippocampus and amygdala are both part of the limbic system, and they're situated in the temporal lobe, internal to the cortex of the parahippocampal gyrus. Remember, the parahippocampal gyrus was the most medial aspect of the brain inferiorly. Other basal nuclei include the subthalamic nucleus, which is here on both sides, and the substantia nigra. The substantia nigra is located in the midbrain. The subthalamic nucleus is located in the diencephalon. So for input and output nuclei classification, the striatum, which is composed of the caudate nucleus and the putamen, these contain similar cells, and they receive input, so they are classified as input nuclei. Now the globus pallidus, which is here, in addition to the pars reticulata of the substantia nigra, they're functionally classified as output nuclei. So those 2 nuclei are the source of basal ganglia efferent fiber projections. If you have lesions to the basal nuclei, You'll have hypo or hyperkinetic disorders. Some diseases of the basal nuclei are if you have a lesion in the striatum, so if you have a lesion here in the caudate nucleus or the putamen, this could cause Huntington's disease or Huntington's chorea, which is what it's also known as, which is an inherited neurodegenerative disease that results in the death of brain cells in this particular basal ganglia. And it's characterized by quick, repeated involuntary movements of the arms, the legs, face, shoulder. If you have a lesion in the substantia nigra here, which is in the midbrain, this could cause Parkinson's disease. It's also a neurodegenerative disease. Your brain cells are dying. And this is characterized by rigidity or stiffness of the patient. They may have a resting tremor and very slow movement. If you have a lesion in the subthalamus here, this, which is in the diencephalon, this could cause hemibolismus, which is sudden flailing movements of the entire limb. I forgot to mention the claustrum nucleus. The claustrum, we can't really see it here for whatever reason. This application doesn't have it included, but I have a picture here pulled up. The claustrum has an unknown function. We don't know what it's for, but it lies lateral to the putamen. Another thing I wanted to point out was the CSF route. So earlier we had the lateral ventricles on both sides above the caudate nucleus. Here is the third ventricle, which lies in between, I don't know if you can tell, but it lies in between the thalamus. And here's the thalamus here. Thalamus, thalamus. Third ventricle lies just in between that. And then it drains into the cerebral aqueduct, into the fourth ventricle, and into the spinal canal. So the summary of the basal nuclei and the structures in relation to one another: you have caudate nucleus, putamen, globus pallidus, hippocampus, and amygdala, substantia nigra, subthalamic nucleus, and the claustrum nucleus. The input nuclei are caudate nucleus, putamen, and the output are the globus pallidus and the substantia nigra.